All right, so this is my first time trying to record with Google Gemini and Google Meet by myself. We'll see how it goes. My name is Kyle. Some people on certain parts of the internet would know me as Cubby, but it's just a nickname I've had for a long time. And I am a solo entrepreneur, independent developer, and UX, UI, and product designer for these last 15 or 20 years, something like that. And today I want to talk to you about Marigold, which is one of my newest projects. And it's around, I guess some people would call it election integrity, other people would call it voter rights, but it's essentially a project to help people without or with access to large public data sets be able to open them, use them in a safe and secure way, and then explore them. So I'll show you a bit about the project. I'm going to try to keep this one pretty short, and then I'll record more to walk through different functionality. The issue with the program, as we'll cover briefly or soon, is that it's engineered to be very protective of people's data and trying to protect public data from being ended up in the wrong hands. And so because of that, I have to be very cautious about what I show, and I have to engineer solutions so that I can show not real data, and that just takes time. So today we're just going to talk at a high level about what it is, how it works, and how it's built. Let me share my screen here. I'm just going to share my entire screen, if it'll let me. I think that'll be the easiest way to do this. All right, so I believe I'm sharing my screen. We'll just hide that. Perfect. I guess I'll leave that open, even though I don't need it. The website for this is marigoldinsights.org. Why Marigold? Literally was a name that popped into my head. And I just thought, well, marigolds are everywhere. People don't usually have strong feelings about them. And it's just, it's a common thing. Nobody will get offended, so they'll be fine. That's why it's called that. There's no deeper meaning, I promise. So if you go to the site, you can click around. There's a lot of links, and you can go through and you can read and explore things and understand, maybe, depending on who you are, if you're just a citizen or you're part of a group or you're part of the local government, you can go through and understand kind of how things go. And then you can read about it as you like. There is a sandbox that will simulate how things work. I'll just briefly run this while I'm kind of talking over it. You can run this yourself, so it's not something you have to watch in the video. But effectively, what happens when you are downloading something or you're using Marigold for the first time is that you're prompted to upload a state voter record file, and each state has very different rules around that. But once you do download it and then you have to upload it to Marigold, it's a whole process that I'll walk through in just a minute. You'll be able to see some, information. So it could show you the, high density occupancy if you're looking at that and curious about it. It might show you the total number of people in a specific county. In this case, it's just counties in the state of Mississippi. And then you can, I guess, sign up if you want to, and it should be able to kind of walk you through and explain how the process works. If you're curious about it, this is a very simple version of it, but it at least shows you what you can do. And if you wanted to sign in, you could sign in, you could create an account, and you could run it. I think in any state in the US, provided that you have the rights to the voter files. Each state is different, so I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not 100% sure on that, but it should work in most states. There might be a little bit of work, and it would be much easier and better if I were contacted before somebody just starts running things. That would be better for everyone probably, and we're protected as well. So I guess I could continue to show here, and of course you can go to the website and see things yourself and understand. So basically, the innovation of Marigold is not necessarily the voter rolls, it's that you can actually interact with them. When you download a voter roll from most states, the number of the records are usually over 1 million, since most states have a population greater than 1, 2, or even 5 million. You will have a massive data set. And depending on what you use, could be Google Sheets, could be Microsoft Excel, could be Mac OS's numbers. You can only open like 800,000 to about 1.1 million records. And so you can't actually open those files. You can't actually work with it unless you have a cloud-based server that can chunk it up and process it. And so effectively what I have figured out or worked on is a way for people to download their voter records and run it on their computers. And then using some technical stuff, you can use, you're using the file that you have saved on your hard drive to power the information that you see in the web browser. And there's a connection between your machine and the web browser that allows them to talk back and forth. This is a huge innovation because if you are, I'll just switch back. You guys get the point. Switch back and stop sharing here. Oh, wait, at least you can see me. So this is a huge innovation because previously each state has its own data warehousing rules. There's also strict rules on where our data can be hosted and accessed at the federal level. And most programs and most people who are building software would use something called like cloud computing or monolithic software construction. And basically this means that you have, a big server, usually it's Google or Amazon, sometimes some smaller providers, maybe DigitalOcean, but usually Google or Amazon are the most common, maybe Microsoft Azure. And all the data lives in that server. So if you're a bad actor who wants to compromise a bunch of people's addresses, date of birth, and where they live and all that stuff, it's what's considered a honeypot. It's a huge, all you have to do is hack one system and then you get 50 million, 100 million people that you can defraud. And so the reason why a lot of the consumer products are so difficult to use or expensive or to get into is that they're having to engineer around that problem. And what Marigold does instead is Marigold says, forget the cloud, just use it on your machine, on your computer. And then there's a secure connection between your computer and then the way that Marigold runs in the web. And I could get into it, but there's cryptographic handshakes and encryption. Basically, your machine can send a message that is encrypted, and the only thing that can unencrypt it or decrypt it is Marigold on the web. And so there's a ceremony where they kind of say like, secret handshake, and if the handshake is identified, then the information is allowed in the club, right? It's the easiest way to understand it. So yeah, basically what I've done is I've allowed you to run on your local machine the voter rolls and then analyze it using web-based tools. So you have the power of a normal application with the data privacy of an individual citizen who has the data records on their machine. And it's not been tested legally, but as far as I can tell, it completely it circumvents a lot of the issues with data and makes it a lot harder for people to hack because you'd have to hack lots and lots of individuals' computers. And there's, enterprise corporate grade security preventing that decryption or that hacking from happening as well. So I've been very careful with it. The other cool thing that I'll say about it, aside from just saying you can analyze voter rolls, I just released a new feature today, actually called the 360-degree audit, and it runs through the 9 or 10 most common analyses that people use, and we'll tell you if there's anything that needs to be addressed. And we are nonpartisan, so it looks at both things that the left and the right cares about. What I care about is purely the data, like data, and I think it's unfair for people to pay public servants to organize information and then they can't actually look at it themselves if they want to because it's just not well engineered. So it offends me as an engineer, but there's very little political motivation at all for me. It's mostly a big data problem that I find very interesting and like to explore. So anyway, that was a long diatribe and a digression. The way that this works is, aside from running partially on your local machine, partially in the web, is it allows you to share notes and communicate with others who have that same data set. So if I belong in a group and I share a note with somebody in my group, there's some encryption that happens, but I can send a message and say, John Doe at such and such an address, like, anybody know what's up with this? And when that message is sent, the program automatically pulls John Doe, automatically pulls the address, gives it like an encrypted token instead that can only be revealed. The secret code can only be revealed by somebody else who has a combination of other permissions and factors built in their system. So that is a long-winded way of saying this is the first time that activists or citizen groups or even state folks can interact at the county up to the state, or even, I guess, precinct to the county to the state level on their own voter information, on their own private computers and their own public computers. Some rules do apply. It's different for different states, yada, yada. You get the idea. But they can do that in most states, we'll say. And then also you can collaborate nationally. So collaborating nationally on what you're looking at to try to glean any sort of research insights or whatever information you want to look at. This is the first time that that's really been documented in a way that you can share. And in a subsequent video, I'll talk about cartridges, which is essentially like a saved search. So if you commonly search for flights from Houston, Texas to Cancun, Mexico, that search might get saved by Google Flights or Travelocity or whatever you're using. This is a similar thing where once you find a search pattern that works to identify the specific subset of specific voter information that you want, you can save that, share it with people in your group. You can keep it private to yourself, or you can share it nationally. That functionality in the national sharing I'll need to work on, because there's, as you all probably know, each state does things differently. And so I would need to make sure that when somebody creates a search, that it's respectful of the way that the documents and the spreadsheets are arranged for all 50 states. But we're not there yet. So nonetheless, you can share with a group and you can run and share resources. And compared to other things that I think exist in this space, it's a lot easier to use. And it's also open source. So you can view all the source code yourself. It's not hidden. It's not a black box. There's nothing to hide from. You can copy it if you want to and run it on your own machine if you want to. You can contribute if you want to write code or make suggestions. You can write them directly on GitHub. And yeah, it's ready to roll. It's definitely ready for testers. And in subsequent videos, I will talk through more of the logistics of how to use it and things like that. I just wanted to kick off with kind of a, who am I? Why is this thing built? Look, what is the main purpose of it? What's differentiated? And the major differentiator is the local access or the local storage of those data files, which is, I think, far more secure. I've not done the full testing yet, but it's pretty secure. And then the ability for states and individuals in different states to collaborate on search methodologies without sharing private information. So if you've heard about Bitcoin or things like that, or other sort of cryptographic things like in World War II, we have Alan Turing, and then you have, you know, the Navajo language in the Pacific Theater, things like that. This is using those same cryptographic mathematical proofs and protections that all of that uses. Effectively, the odds of hacking one of them is like finding a single atom somewhere in the universe or something like that. It's a huge number. So it should be relatively good, should be stable and performing, but it is a new product. And I would say, you know, take it with a grain of salt, and make sure that you, of course, do your own research and validate everything. And feel free to ask questions, make suggestions, tell me about improvements. I'm responsive, build very fast, build publicly, and oftentimes if you make a suggestion, you'll see it within a day or two. So thanks very much. Appreciate your time learning about Marigold and learning about me.